whenever you're at a wedding, dance.
Huge fan of the show, of the series.
Oh,
It is. It's one of those things where I'm like, just when you think like you've seen enough AIDS movies or AIDS, there's just this other area, other part of the epidemic that we haven't seen, and we see it, and it's this cathartic. I mean, the crying that we did.
Me too. I had seen episode 1. I was sent that, and then I hadn't seen the rest of them. So I was starting to do press for the project, and I was a little bit bummed because I had only seen a part of it. And so after the first day of press and before this morning of the second day, I got links to the rest of them, and I was going to watch 1 or 2 because by the time we put the kids down, and it was Dave, myself, and our friend Michael, and we watched episode 2 and then episode 3, and then we had to watch episode 4, and then you have to watch episode 5. It was like 1 o'clock in the morning by the time we finished. We were all emotionally gutted. And I knew the actors, I knew the locations. I was able to remove myself emotionally, and I was still invested so emotionally. So I for everyone and their individual story with HIV/AIDS of a generation where it has affected them, it must be an even more powerful dynamic going on. So I'm overwhelmed at its largeness.
How'd you get involved? Did they come to you with a script, or how did that all happen?
I got an email saying that Russell T Davies wanted to chat on the phone to maybe be in his next series. And I think currently at the time watching Years and Years, and was a huge Queer as Folk fan. Not as much with the Doctor Who, just because I wasn't a Doctor Who fan from before, so I didn't really follow it. But I just think his storytelling is brilliant, and I love working in the UK. I have a real obsession, borderline obsession with all things UK. Immersive theater in UK with Punch Drunk, I think, is stellar. The National Theatre being subsidized by the government and inexpensive as a ticket, and producing such amazing things. The Tate Modern, I just could go on and on. So any chance I can get to go to the UK is great. So those two things just sort of fell in my lap, and I got on a phone call with Russell and his producing partner. He told me about the idea and that there was a character in it that he was interested in me playing. And I said, sure, I'd love to. And that was 6 months before I got a script.
Wow.
So it was early on in the process, and then I thought it had gone away, and then it appeared again, and it was happening in earnest, and suddenly I was in Manchester and learning an accent and growing a mustache and loving life.
Did you like growing the mustache?
I had grown a full-on mustache, like 70s Magnum PI style, for another project that stopped production in the middle of filming because they lost funds. So I had lived in mustache land for a while, and then this was a question of, it wasn't mustache necessary. It just, I had a lot of stubble by the time I got there because I wasn't sure what they wanted, and looking for some kind of characterization. We thought maybe a mustache would be interesting, and then we thought if I shaved it down and made it as bespoke and as refined as the rest of his demeanor, that it would be helpful, and it was.
My husband likes when I grow a mustache, and my top lip just disappears. It just looks horrible. I
want to see
it.
I want to see you in November.
Oh no, I was going through this phase in the pandemic where I was dyeing my hair different colors because my husband's a hair colorist. So we started playing with that. And then I was like, okay, I'll grow a mustache. And there's videos of me in interviews with mustache. I'm like, Mark, why?
I did gay pride parade with the family in NYC when I had the full-on mustache. And there was a whole year of pictures where I had this big walrus of a mustache. You know,
Do you remember when you first learned about HIV/AIDS?
I don't remember it as a singular time where I had heard information, but I remember that I was living in New Mexico with my family, and I would come in sporadically to Los Angeles, and my agent at the time was a woman named Bo Shoot, Boohschut, and she since then became my manager for a while. And she found me, and she was a small agent in the Valley, and not a small agent, but it was a small
Agency.
It was just her and an assistant, and her assistant's name was David, and he was the loveliest man, mid to late 20s probably then. This was probably in 1987, 88, 89. And his partner was a man named Bob Harbin, who was the head of casting for CBS, weirdly. CBS? ABC.
Okay.
And so all I knew from really gay men in my life was David and Bob. And they would invite, David was just the loveliest, nicest guy, and they'd invite us over for dinners, and my parents and myself would go and fish out of water style see these two adorable, hilarious gay men being kind of weirdly like Henry and his partner in the show, now that I recollect it. But they had a big bulldog, and they were just lovely examples of gay men. And I was not out then. To be honest, I don't even think I was sexual enough to be nervous around them. They were just lovely men. And then David started getting showing up at work less and less. And then all of a sudden there was another assistant who was kind of replacing him. And then he wasn't there. And it was then when I was sat down by Bo, and she sort of explained to me what was happening with him, that he was sick, and that's what it was. It was profound, because at that time it was still early on. It was still so loaded with a quiet, hushed discussion, a level of shame or concern that made me unable to really have a dialogue about it. I was just given information and processed it, and that was it. I never really got to say goodbye or know when the end was happening. And then he had passed, and Bob was very upset, and he's lived on to have a wonderful life post David. But that was that was the closest I had come. I was sort of grew up in the middle. I didn't grow up in Los Angeles, so I would go back to New Mexico, and so I thankfully was in between. I didn't have to sit through respite in hospitals of friends, and since then I've learned a lot and heard a lot, and been a lot of stories have been shared with me from David Furnish and Elton, from the ensemble cast in Rent. So I've lived firsthand experience, but not in the trenches, as it were.
So when you get a role like this, when you get something like It's a Sin, do you do more research in terms of prep, or do you sort of just figure out what kind of man Henry was, whether it was during the 80s or it's now?
It's one of the things I enjoy about being an actor, is that it allows me the opportunity to do research that I otherwise wouldn't need to do.
Right.
That said, I didn't do a lot of research about HIV/AIDS because my character's trajectory was one of kind of sudden confusion, and then never having a breadth of knowledge about it. In fact, his final scenes, he speaks with quiet confusion about what all of this might be. So I didn't want to do undue research and then have it weirdly affect my performance. So but that's not to say that just out of curiosity, I haven't done due diligence.
The thing that's amazing about this series is it does that great balance of it's entertaining, and there are moments where I'm just relishing Richie's life, the abandonment, I'm just going to go for it. I'm just living, obviously not knowing that this epidemic is coming. 100%. And then it's just such a great reminder. Great's not the right word, but a reminder of what happened and what could still happen. And it's this, you would think, oh, I don't want to watch something like this. This is going to be depressing. This is going to be about, my community just dying. But it's something so cathartic about art like this. What is it? Is it just reliving it? Is it just seeing it through others' eyes? What does that make sense?
That makes perfect sense. And my answer would be Russell T Davies. I think he has a real innate skill at writing about big picture issues in a very conversational way. The doors are wide open for you to jump in. Halfway through the first episode of this thing, you care about these kids. You want to see them grow up. You want them to experiment. You want them to dance and have fun. And that's all written. That's all written. It could be very cautionary and medicinal and make it feel like you know what's coming. But at the end of the first episode, that great juxtaposition between my character Henry's situation and them all speaking directly into the camera about what they're looking forward to in the next year and the next 5 years, what they want to do when they grow up is very profound. I wanted them to succeed in their endeavors, and yet I had a feeling that given that I'm watching this on film, it's almost Russian roulette. You assume that at least one of them won't have the outcome that they're hoping for. And I think that makes great for very interesting and intriguing storytelling.
And it always comes, for me, projects like this always comes down to the dancing. The dance, for me, anytime,
What do you mean the dancing? The literal dancing in a scene?
Literal dancing scenes, Queer as Folk, they had them all the time. And it was when you felt that euphoria. Longtime Companion. I don't know if the last time you watched it, if you remember the last scene and they're all coming back on the beach and they're just dancing. I don't know if have you watched Veneno yet?
No.
There's a dancing scene in Veneno, and that gets me every time. It's the dancing. It's such a, for gay men, it's so many times the first time that we were allowed to be free. Because for me, when I was this little gay boy, I was so self-conscious about dancing, I wouldn't.
Same.
So when I was finally allowed to, it was a freedom that I had never experienced before.
I have the same relationship with dance. I grew up in small town New Mexico, and my best friend was a girl, and I was friendly with the boys, but at dances, I was so self-conscious, and I would be the one sitting on the bleachers, up judging other people as they danced.
Right.
Look at Ethan.
But at the same time, I wanted to dance.
Sure.
I wanted to.
And it's one thing that I say now to my kids, to anyone who will listen, is that whenever you're at a wedding, dance. Yes. Wedding dancing is my favorite because you have all these demographics all together. You have grandparents and siblings and people that you don't know, and everyone's there to celebrate a cause. You're not there just because it's Saturday night and you're going out to get lucky. No one's there to get lucky, and you can just dance. And it is a really great feeling. As you get older, it's easy to say with perspective that I wished I danced more. Yeah. But I really do wish I danced more. Weirdly, in my life, I've gotten to dance a fair amount. I've never taken a dance class, but I've headed like in award shows, I've had to dance at
Yeah.
the front of lines of professional dancers behind me. And it's one of the most nervous feelings I still have, is being in the dance rehearsal studio feeling like a total fraud. But when you do get to move your body, and the energy that's created from it is beautiful. That said, it's really challenging to dance on camera, because in order to record sound, they keep having to turn off the music so they can record the sound. So you're often dancing to no beat at all next to background actors who you've never met. And in a normal certain situation, there'd be loud music and you'd have been staring at them for a while. So it does ask a lot for the kids to be dancing. That said, these actors, they're far from kids, had an ensemble alchemy that was very enviable. And every time I was able to be with them in a group, I relished it, because it made me feel like I was part of their team. And it was just a joy to watch. There was nothing inauthentic about how much they enjoyed each other's company.
What is it like watching a man, I was going to say kid, like Ollie, who's, he's out from day one?
Yeah.
What does that feel like as a gay man of a certain age who couldn't be out from day one?
I love that. I would take objection to your couldn't be out from day one supposition, because that to me implies that there would have been some negative ramification. I don't know that that's the case. I think everyone has an individual path and an individual journey, and
Fair point.
And it's really up to the individual. I do think that almost everyone uniformly, when they're able to not withhold information, they shine brighter.
Yeah.
And I think the keeping of secrets is a bearing of weight, and that holding weight just weighs you down. And when you're free from that weight, you are obviously able to stand taller. Yeah. So a younger generation, though, I think kids in their early 20s and younger, the gay straight spectrum is totally different. It seems that the labeling and the stigma is just not there. I've had good conversations with people in their early 20s who are straight but have fooled around with friends, and it doesn't weigh heavily on them. It was fun, they had fun, and now they have a girlfriend, and they're not troubled by it. It doesn't define them. It was just a fun afternoon or evening. And I love that. And so when I look at Ollie, granted, he came up from music, and music's a different story now, which is an interesting thing to say, because I think when I was his age, it would have been much harder to come out in the music industry than as an actor, right? Wasn't that glass ceiling what seemed more difficult?
I mean, for me, the only, I was obsessed with Boy George.
Right.
Obsessed.
And George Michael weighed heavily on him for years and years, right?
Boy George, and George Michael for that matter. I still remember I think it was the cover of People magazine, Boy George, I'm bi.
Yeah. And that was a big deal.
Yeah.
So, but now music is freedom, and Ollie I can't get past his smile. I mean, he's just a bright, he's a shining beacon of possibility.
Yeah.
And it was reined in incredibly well by Russell. Some of the things that he took my breath away in episode 5, post riot, when they're all in the Jeep and he said, "Don't touch me because I'm bleeding." Like, I audibly gasped at that turn from, it just was everything. It wrapped up everything that he felt, and the way he said it with kind of a plastered on smile of fear and determination and grit and shame. It was a very complicated moment that he executed brilliantly.
So just to take a little turn here, Matrix 4.
Yeah, man.
So the other day I spoke to Yaha Abdul Mateen,
Nice.
who said to me, there's only two people who actually understand the Matrix, Keanu and Lana. Do you understand what the Matrix is?
I would never even try. I agree with what he says. I mean, Yaya was in it in his own way. We all had our own little tracks, but Lana is a very fluid, free, evolved creator in the true sense of creator.
Right.
So words aren't as important to her sometimes, and sometimes they're very important. And physicalities are changeable. So we would do inconsequential scenes that would change a lot. So yes, I think the Bible of the Matrix is certainly she wrote the script. So it's her, it's in her brain. But yes, we're all just puppets. We play along with whatever it is.
Did you watch the other movies before you went to shoot it?
Of course.
Like right before to sort of.
Throughout.
What are you thinking? Like, I'm going to be in the Matrix. Like, that is just, it's the Matrix. Like, my husband, it's literally his favorite franchise of all time.
I wish I could say that my role allowed the appreciation of the largeness of it. I can't, I'm not supposed to reveal too much about it all, but I did recognize that because Lana had done Sense8 for Netflix before, and that was a small group of gypsy people that traveled around the world making this, and a lot of the same crew was part of the Matrix, it didn't feel large because it felt she was in her sweet spot, which was filming on the fly, filming using natural light. So sometimes you'd sit around for an hour waiting for the clouds to clear, and then you'd quickly film. You'd film pages at a time in 30 minutes and then be done, because she has ideas and vision. So it always felt very spur of the moment and felt very spontaneous, which I think is very unique for the scale of the movie. Right. You would think that a giant movie would be 100% storyboarded, animatics, we're checking off shots. And I think she's lived that before 3 times over. And I would suspect that she wants to do things her own way now. And it was so to answer your question, it wasn't often that you felt that you were doing something gigantic, because she made it feel very intimate. And I feel like watching the movie will be a different experience than it was watching the first 3 in a visual way.
And now, could you believe life has come full circle? There's going to be another Doogie Howser.
I heard that. Yes.
How wild.
But I'm so happy.
Yeah, why is that?
Well, the creator of it was a producer on How I Met Your Mother. I think setting it with a female protagonist is a great call. I love Hawaii, and I think the notion of having it be set there is personal for her, and I just think it's in good hands. I'm a big, massive Disney Plus fan. Literally, have been watching. We watched with the kids WandaVision.
So good.
First 3 episodes are so weird, great.
So weird.
And I want to know what's happening, and I have no idea. So I love it. The Imagineering story was my happy place. So I think it's in really good hands. It feels like it's going to be a passion project for many, and I can't wait to watch it.
Has anyone approached you about sort of appearing in the background? You're in a hospital scene.
No.
Would you?
My goodness, that's a tricky question to answer to you. because if I say no, it sounds like I don't want to be involved with it, and I'm passing judgment on it. If I say yes, it sounds like I'm trying to get a job. So it hasn't come my way, and I sincerely wish them all great success.
And then one last question for you. What's the worst audition you ever went on?
I remember auditioning for not for Wolverine, for Night. What was the part that Alan Cumming played in the Marvel movies? Nighthawk?
Nighthawk? I don't even know. That's
Nightcrawler or something like that.
Uh-huh.
I remember auditioning for a Marvel movie, and I was supposed to be that part that Alan Cumming got. And I remember auditioning and feeling just so, this was very early on, and this was, I think, X-Men 2 something, or the first one. So it's like I remember being in the audition room, like on my haunches, because I was supposed to crawl, like you're supposed to be part animal and crawling, and I don't think I quite got it. I clearly didn't quite get it, but I remember feeling insecure in my own skin at that time to be heroic and animalistic at the same time, which is a drag, because now that I'm 47, that's one of the bucket list things I'm dying to do.
Superhero?
Well, I don't know about superhero, but big scale CG elements, like a large movie. Like it could be Chris Nolan large.
Mm-hmm.
Could be PlayStation 5 large. But like some kind of big, where you're doing wires. I love that stuff.
And the little tennis balls. Yeah. Looking at other people's drawings of what it's going to look like, and having to live in a world of the future, I think would be fun. So I think we have to get you a superhero movie.
Okay.
Or series. I mean, Disney Plus is doing so many of the superhero series now.
That's true, and we are huge Mandalorian fans.
Are you?
Oh man, aren't you?
I've tried.
What do you mean you tried? Like you saw?
I tried, and I kind of walked away from it. So I have to come back.
It's a bonus that you get excited 10-year-old children watching it with you, because Gideon, as the scenes go on, he's like, "Oh, that's an F-Wing 2 shot. That wasn't seen. I saw that in a Lego that I put together 3 years ago. That houses these kind of robots." So it's very exciting. So, but yeah, that turned out to be that turned out to be great.
Yeah, I loved WandaVision. I didn't know what to expect, and once I watched, I was like, "This is."
I still don't know what to expect. What is happening? And I won't read anything about it because I don't want to know. But I have a position. I said,
by the way,
family, I don't want to know.
Neil, this is great. It's good seeing you.
You too, sir.
Great series, and hopefully next time we see each other, it is in person.
Absolutely.
Tell David I said hi.
I will. Thank you so much, bud.
Take care.